Hey there everyone, and welcome back to another cryptocurrency market update. My name is Brendan from Crypto 101, and we're seeing the crypto markets have a really strong fundamental start to this week. I mean, we just saw Bitcoin retest $70,000, which is new multi-month highs. We're seeing record levels of volume and inflows come back to the Bitcoin ETFs. We're seeing institutional interest soaring across the board. Even Stripe, the massive payment processor, is getting in on this action, and they are now acquiring platforms for, yes, billions of dollars. So there's a lot going on here. Of course, the price of Bitcoin is moving with this. We just tapped that recent high. We're seeing a little bit of a pullback today, but I want to make sure that we go over absolutely everything in today's video. So all that we ask here is that if you like the content that we make, consider hitting that like button, consider hitting that subscribe button, and check us out on some of our other platforms as well. But let's go ahead and kick things off. And I think the only appropriate way to properly kick off an episode like this one and an update like this one is with this tweet right here saying, hey, fasten your seatbelt. And what this is, I love this one because what this is it's showing that Bitcoin is retesting its biggest resistance zone yet. This is where Bitcoin is pressing up into these all-time highs. The downtrend looks to be breaking, and it's priming Bitcoin up for what could be a much larger move to the upside. Now, we're going to look at this once we get onto the charts in just a second, so we're going to come back to it. But I want to go through some of the news that's happening here because there's a lot of catalysts. There's a lot of really good things that are happening in the background that is making all of this possible. And one of the big things that we have been waiting for is for the SEC to approve options trading on the Bitcoin ETFs. And that actually just happened later yesterday. And so what happened here is towards the end of yesterday, the SEC came out and they said, hey, we're actually going to be approving options trading for multiple Bitcoin ETFs, and this is a big deal. Now, if you are familiar with options trading, this is where you can essentially get leverage on a bunch of, typically on a bunch of different stocks or on traditional assets. Now, you probably heard of leverage trading stocks and people going long and short and buying puts and calls and things like that. Well, this would allow people to do all of that on a handful of the Bitcoin ETFs, such as Grayscale's ETF, Bitwise's ETF, and people are even looking further to try to get this on BlackRock and Fidelity and eventually all of these ETFs moving forward. So this is a big deal. Again, people have been speculating about this. I think a lot of people realized that it wasn't a matter of if this could get approved. It was a matter of when. And here we are patiently waiting for these. And we're excited to see what kind of direction that this continues to take into the future because, again, the goal here is to get more of these approved. Ideally, we want to start seeing all of the really, really big players. Bitwise is a pretty big player. Grayscale is a pretty big player. But we want to see the kind of top dogs, such as BlackRock and Fidelity, who have been leading the charge on the ETF front in terms of like inflows and trading volume. We want to see it become available over there. And I think that it will. I really do think that it's just a matter of time. But this is a huge step in the right direction. Now, with all of this, we're seeing that institutional interest is soaring, and CME's Bitcoin futures just saw open interest setting new all-time highs over here, which means that, it has increased around 36% over the last 2 weeks or so. And you can see just it absolutely skyrocketing here in recent weeks, which again, I think that we are pushing towards this idea that new all-time highs for Bitcoin are probably not too far away. I don't think we're going to have to wait another couple years to see a new all-time high on Bitcoin. I think that is not going to happen. And then B, we're a lot closer to the end of this consolidation than people realize. And the whole crypto market is starting to look really good with where we are sitting at. So this was a really cool thing that I saw come across my desk, but also the ETFs, when we covered this in Friday's video, but the ETFs are doing really, really good over here. And just to show everyone how good this is a good tweet that says, hey, it took gold ETFs around 5 years to break $20 billion in inflows, and Bitcoin was able to do this in 10 months, making it one of the most, if not arguably, the most successful ETF launch in history. And it compares to what gold did its first year to what Bitcoin did its first year. Not even the first year, within the first 10 months. I mean, we have to remember that the Bitcoin ETFs are not even a year old, and they won't be a year old until the middle to end part of January. So with all the great inflows that we're seeing, this kind of trend continues because the amounts of inflows, and again, we talked about this a little bit on Friday as well, but BlackRock just bought over $330 million in Bitcoin for its ETF, and this has not been a one-off scenario. In fact, if we go and we actually look at the inflows to these Bitcoin ETFs, and we zoom in over here, which I want to go ahead and do for us, we can see that we've been seeing $550 million in inflows, $370 million, $458 million, $470 million, even the other day, $273 million, and the inflows have just kept coming in and coming in, with the big kind of leader here, again, being BlackRock, seeing a lot of inflows. So no matter which kind of way that you look at this across the board, there's a lot of big things happening, and more TradFi companies want to get in on the price action. I mean, we're seeing Stripe, a massive player in the payment provision space, especially for businesses, come in and say, hey, we're actually going to be acquiring the stablecoin platform Bridge for over $1 billion, which is a big deal, because what we're seeing now is that crypto is going almost completely mainstream. Like, again, a lot of these traditional companies want to get in on it. And it almost begs the question, what is this space going to look like once there is really clear-cut regulation so that anybody that wants to get in can get in and they don't have to be nervous about stuff? Because that's been one of the big takeaways over the last year or so, is that there hasn't been super clear-cut regulation, and the SEC has been going after a lot of different players for it. I mean, we covered this probably 3 weeks ago, with the ultimate kind of crypto sue-off that was happening over on the Crypto 101 podcast YouTube channel. And it makes me really excited for what the space will look like in maybe a few years' time if we do get that clear regulation in the not-so-distant future, which I think we can 100% do. And because of this, again, Bitcoin is pushing up over here. It's been moving to higher highs, higher lows, and we're seeing Bitcoin push up to the highest level that we have seen since July of this year, marking new multi-month highs for Bitcoin. And of course, altcoins are doing well across the board. We've been seeing that things like Solana have been pushing higher to new multi-month highs. We've been seeing that things like Sui and Aave and a bunch of these other cryptocurrencies like Mantra have all been pushing to the upside as well. Even Radium just absolutely going parabolic in terms of price, as you can see on the chart right over here. And it's one cryptocurrency after another that are seeing this. And it makes us really feel like we are in this true popcorn season, which is typically one of the seasons that happens before a traditional altcoin season. And all of this is happening while the DXY is moving higher, which typically does not happen. Typically, the DXY is a negative thing for the crypto markets, but they are just so bullish. The buyers don't care. The bulls don't care. They are buying this thing up. So there's a lot of cool stuff that's happening in the background. We are going to end and kind of wrap up here by showing everyone this final tweet that says, hey, buckle up. Bitcoin is pushing into that final level of resistance over here where it really does, or it really is pushing into the top of this all-time high resistance. And man, we're excited to see what happens in the not-so-distant future. So it's not to say that Bitcoin can't go up and down a little bit, right? But what we are still looking towards is this idea that Bitcoin, despite any kind of short-term price action, we are looking upwards and onwards for the health of the entire crypto market. So we hope all of you enjoyed this episode. If you did, again, leave us a like, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what all of your thoughts on this episode are. Now, if you are new here and you want to get plugged in, we have a couple of great communities that you can do that at. You can go and find us on Altcoin Alert. You can go find us at Crypt Nation, which is a really good cryptocurrency-focused community that we run over here. And if you want to get plugged into that, we actually have some links below in the description for all of you. And of course, check us over on the Crypto 101 podcast YouTube channel as well. We got lots of great content there, from tutorials to more market updates to podcasts with leaders in the space. And we want to make sure that everyone stays as updated as possible. So that's going to round us up, everyone. Thank you all for watching, and we're going to see all of you at the same time, same place next week.